Hey everybody, it's your boy Dre off the top here. Once again, begging you to like and rate the show, whatever you listen on, especially Apple Podcasts. It really helps a small show like ours a lot. If you listen on Spotify, rate us there, leave us a comment. If you listen on Google Podcasts, you can't do that anymore, so don't do that there. But, you know, if our show is on YouTube now, for some reason, I thought it was a good idea to just export it there. So if you listen there for some reason, leave us a comment there too. We would really appreciate it. Let's start the show.
Step into video game land. Welcome to Fine Time.
Hello, party people. It's your boy Dre. It is the fine. It is the time. Steve, do you remember why I started saying hello, party people? I've said it since episode 1, right?
I think it was because you wanted everyone to feel welcome to listen to our show and not have any barriers or gatekeeping in any way.
I would never gatekeep anything, Kevin, except Castlevania.
No, I think it's because you got swagger like a motherfucker, other than when we talk about Castlevania.
Okay, that's the only time I don't. All right, fine.
And then you're just a douche.
Then I am just a big old douche who won't rap over the show theme song.
Steve committed if we get 300 listens on this show that he will rap over it.
What?
Ooh.
How does that work? White guys can't rap. What are you talking about?
White guys can rap, but has a white guy named Steve ever been able to rap?
I don't think I get to be the first.
Look, someone's gotta break the mold, okay? Break that color barrier. you gotta break right into this industry, white Steve.
We're all about pushing boundaries here on Fine Time.
I don't know about that one, you guys.
All right. I guess we'll leave that be for now. And I guess we can talk about video games. Me and Kevin played a little thing called Animal Well. Kevin, let's get started on this. Man, it's been a weird couple weeks since this game came out. It kind of came out at the beginning of our cycle, so I think it has literally been 2 weeks since it came out, and it's been all the rage on the interwebs, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's had time to ruminate.
Yeah, it definitely has. So I want to start by reading some reviews. We don't typically do this on this type of show, but I want to just so I think it'll just set the table for what we're dealing with here, okay? So I'm just going to quote from various publications and people. Here's what PC Gamer had to say about Animal Well, and I quote, "Anyone who falls into this well won't want to leave it anytime soon. Animal Well is a Metroidvania milestone." Okay, Games Radar says, and I quote, "Animal Well is stubbornly traditional in keeping you in the dark as you embark on your adventure, but that's firmly to its credit as you unravel the mystery sprinkled around its map. While the sense that nothing is quite as it seems never lets up, this is an endlessly inventive Metroidvania with unfathomable depth." PC Gamer says, "A sleep-destroying puzzle Metroidvania of baffling depth. Animal Well may go down in history as one of the genre's best." God is a Geek says, "Animal Well is a Metroidvania that stands out in a crowded marketplace thanks to a lack of combat and some seriously creative power-ups." I think you see where this is going, Kevin, but I'm going to read one more, and it was a tweet from Jason Schreier, and this will be the final one I'm going to say. "Animal Well is an all-time classic. A cross between Metroid and Outer Wilds, full of delightful secrets and a joy to play. I've been obsessing for the last few weeks in a Discord with other critics trying to unravel all of its mysteries. You must check it out."
Whew. A lot of M words in there.
And I think you know what I want to say next. Do you want to just say it for me? Because I think you know me by now.
I think you should say it. I think you need to say it.
Y'all, this is not a Metroidvania. And I understand. I made an entire episode about how I hate that word, right? And how it's misused, how it doesn't mean anything, right? But even the way most people apply the word, this doesn't qualify. Animal Well does not qualify, Kevin.
I absolutely agree. I can see where you can draw those parallels, obviously, but this is a very different experience than playing the games you would put in that M-word bucket. There's that element of getting new abilities and revisiting areas. This is a puzzle game at its core, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would think so. I would absolutely say so. It's an adventure game. It's an adventure game to its core. Because you know me, I always prefer the term action adventure. This is not an action game, I guess, right? Although I think it kind of should be, and I'll get to that later. But like, as constructed, I'm not even going to do the thing where I always do. It's like, what does this have to do with Metroid or Castlevania? Which the answer is always nothing, which is why I hate the term. But like, even if we're just going to go with the esoteric idea of whatever people think that thing means, this ain't it. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, sorry, I had to start there because I was just reading the glowing praise, and I guess maybe I should say up front, I think this game is pretty good. I definitely wouldn't put it nearly as high as those publications did, Kevin.
Yeah, and I think that is a good place to start because, if we want to talk about expectations going into this really wasn't on my radar. I remember seeing it pop up a few times. I kind of knew this as the the game that I always think of Video Game Donkey as just this guy that he puts all the trains in Skyrim or whatever. It's kind of like cheap, easy humor. So always to me, this was just like, oh, this is the Video Game Donkey game. And I don't know. I don't give a shit about Video Game Donkey. It wasn't, I didn't have anything against this game, but all of a sudden within the span of 24 hours, I've seen all of this praise, not only from these outlets, but just from the people of the internet were ranting and raving about this. And yeah, the M word was popping up over and over and over. So I did have a distorted view of what I was going into with this.
This game had a lot going against it from the outset for me, because it has that indie game pixel art style, which I got sick of over 10 years ago, but here it is, right? And it's done very well, but still here it is. It's being described as the word I don't like, but I did play Animal Well because I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. I wanted to see, is this a Hades or a Sea of Stars or another game that gets all this praise, indie game, that I'm it's fine. That's usually how I feel about those games. And I think Animal Well is better than those games that I mentioned. But also, it was free on PlayStation Plus Royale with cheese. I was just going to buy it on Steam or whatever. But then I saw it was on there. I'm like, sure. There's no barrier now for $0. So I may as well play it.
I wish somebody would have tipped me off because I wasn't planning on buying this at all either. But I had that 24 hours of ranting and raving. I didn't know it was on PlayStation Plus. So I just bought it on Switch. Then 4 hours afterwards, Andre's like, yeah, I'm playing this. It was free on PlayStation Plus. Why not? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, fuck.
Whoopsie. I agree with what you said earlier. It's an adventure game and it's a puzzle game. It's a puzzle adventure, almost I never know how to say the name of this game, but it's VVVV, a bunch of V's.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I feel like it's a game like that, right? I don't know if you played that game, but
I haven't played it. No.
Okay, yeah, I feel like it's because that's a single screen kind of a big map that you explore and you do various things like jump on the ceiling and walk on it or do all this sort of stuff to get to new areas. And it's a short adventure game like that where you just kind of explore it till you get to the end. And it's not really an action game and it doesn't treat itself like one. But I feel like Animal Well does, again, I'll get to that later, does kind of treat itself like one. You want to start with that art style, though, and the graphics, because I think they're pretty remarkable, especially, and I want to start here. Yeah, it has that very old Apple II looking look. It has very dark backgrounds, the black and because you're literally in a well. I mean, who knows where you are really? But the advantage to that art style is that it gives it that right creepy tone. because you just have like the white outlines of stuff and then like real-time lighting on top of it to add atmosphere, but then everything else is black, which I think looks cool. Cause like, you know how like sometimes like the crudeness of like old time graphics lend, like it almost feels like not uncanny valley, that's not the right term, but like it gives you that sort of fear, like because like it's so polygonal and weird looking in like Resident Evil or Alone in the Dark, like it gives it some sort of like fear factor that it may not. Do you understand what I mean? Like that's kind of a weird thing to describe, but I do think that's kind of true about Animal Well as well.
I guess when I am not poo-pooing the art style. I think it fits this game well, and I don't think it's derivative. I think it's got its own look. It's very like neon soaked. It's very heavy on reflections. And I really like there's a lot of things in the world that are like interactive that don't actually like impact the gameplay, right? You jump through the vines and they just kind of like lazily swish around and like, it's got a lot of like nice effects. So it felt good in that way. I feel, especially when you're talking about how it's got like these colors and then everything is like dark in the background, that kind of limited the, like they want to have each of these areas within the game as being kind of their own like unique distinct vibe, and I think it lost a lot of that because in my head I would kind of go like, this is primarily the blue area, this is the like primarily green area, and even and we'll get into like the animal motif, there wasn't like a really like strong consistency of like this is the dog area necessarily, so it kind of like the world together kind of like it just felt a little bit like messy and not, I knew that they wanted me to treat these as distinct areas, but it was a little bit hard to think of them that way, which is not a huge deal, but I think just a little bit more like character in the backgrounds of those specific locations would have done it some good. But it would also be hard not to like make it too busy.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because as you were saying that, it's like, because there's like a area with like an ostrich, right? Sort of like a boss, if you will. This game doesn't really have strict bosses, but it's as close as it comes to having one. And like, it doesn't look like a bird cage area, or like, you'd think you'd be swinging on a bunch of bird cages, or like here, this looks like, some sort of weird aviary, what do you call it at the zoo where you have like the bunch of birds? Aviary?
Yeah, I think
like,
aviary is right?
Yeah, like you think it would like kind of look like that or something like that, but it doesn't. It just kind of looks like any other place, again, which is fine, but I didn't get the strict color coding that you're talking about. I never really felt like this is the green area and this is the blue area or something like that. I definitely didn't feel that way.
Yeah, they blended together a lot because none of them, except for the very final area where you end the game, that one had a distinct, and for like, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but there are like some reasons that it was very distinct.
Yes.
But it felt a lot more cohesive than everything that came before it.
I can agree with that, but I did not feel like the areas before that felt, I almost said incohesive, which is not a word. That cannot be a word. So whatever the opposite of cohesive is, it didn't feel that way.
Do you think they felt like distinct from each other though?
Mostly. If you were to show me a random screenshot of the game, I would be able to like, oh, that's over here on the map. Like it's in the upper left or whatever. Like I think I would be able to do that.
Right.
So I think it's distinct enough.
Okay.
However, and I know this will probably sound sacrilege to a lot of people, but I think Animal Well would have benefited from like some real graphics. Like if it looked like Ori and the Blind Forest or something like that. Maybe not that bright and colorful, but I'm saying that like that fidelity of graphics, I really think would have made this game look beautiful, because this is not a bad looking game. God, I love the animation on like, especially like the big animals. That one room where you're traveling across the ceiling and there's like these two big like storks like pecking at the water or something like that. Those were animated like crazy, right? Imagine if that looked like, again, not like necessarily Ori's art style, but something more like involved. Look, I'm sure this is made by like one or two people and he did what he did. So whatever, that's fine. At the same time, I can't help but think that its chosen art style, done out of necessity, probably does hold it back a little bit.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I you know what? I think why don't we move? We'll skip ahead a little ways here, and I think you should talk about the lack of context because I think this is all like part of the same conversation when you talk about like, like graphical fidelity and like how much you can relate
Okay.
to this game. Maybe
Let's talk about that because, and this is probably my biggest problem with the game. Okay, so I'll lay it out for anyone who hasn't played. Here's how the game begins. It's a black screen, and there's like 4 flames, and the flames disappear one by one. Boop, 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 boop. Then it shows a dank cave area, and then like your little blob character wakes up. That's it. You're playing the game now. You're a little brown blob with eyes and feet. I have no idea why you're a blob. Why is this a player character? Is it like a piece of rabbit poop? Like little rabbit pellets? I have no idea. It's very weird, and it's not necessarily weird in a good way. Because there's no dialogue or any text in Animal Well to read to give you any context, which is fine. I don't need that, right? Because this game is doing, the environment is the story kind of thing, which is completely fine. I love games like that. But can I at least know why the fuck I'm a blob? Because, like, there's no other blob people or anything like that. There's only other animals. Again, I'm always the guy who says games should tell us less, but maybe Animal Well is too low context. And I really hope the answer is I need to find every hidden little thing in the game to find out why I'm a blob, because if I shouldn't have to 100% the game for basic game context.
yeah.
So
fuck
like,
that.
so like basically, Kevin, that's like my biggest problem with the game.
Yeah, and I found it when I was reading through your notes, I found it really interesting that you articulated that because as far as that lack of context, that didn't actively bother me. And I wouldn't have even thought about what you were talking about as far as you're a blob, you don't know why you're a blob, you don't know what kind of blob you are. But when you said it, it resonated with me, and I can appreciate where you're coming from. And so now to switch gears a little bit, because we're forced into like using the M word in the segment, whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah, we've said it a million times, and also I'm too lazy to go back and edit every instance of it. So we are saying the M word
Letting
today.
the M word fly today. Okay. So, and you know what? I have to talk about Hollow Knight 100%. When I think about that word, that does fit in that bucket for me. And that game also gives you very limited context. That game also has like some similarities as far as like the color palette and even the environments. But without that context, I still felt like that world was a lot more fleshed out. And as a result, I felt a personal connection there. Between both the character that you play as and the entire world, like almost as its own character. Whereas this game, I didn't have that, and I didn't realize it as I played it, but it did feel like it was like keeping me at arm's length as far as how I felt about it, that it couldn't like, I couldn't like stop and be like, oh, this is a Kevin game. I did enjoy this game. I liked this game. I wouldn't have wanted to play it for a lot longer than I did. I think that is why, to some degree, because I didn't have that personal connection, because it felt like kind of alien the entire way through. So it wasn't necessarily an issue for me, but that certainly wasn't drawing me in further.
Yeah, because like as much as I'm kind of lukewarm on Hollow Knight, that character looks like he belongs in the world, and there's other enemies and other things in the world that makes it seem like, okay, he's this thing, and there's other things like him. I don't have to know what that thing is. But like, you know what, honestly, Animal Well, you should have just been a person. You should have been a kid. You should have just been a little kid. Right? Because that would have given you all the context in the world. Keep everything else exactly the same. You're a little kid in the Animal Well. What do you think about that? No?
I mean, that probably would have helped. There would have been some like relation there where you can even, I think by having your character as a kid, and now you have like a mechanism to at least like kind of like tell your own story in your mind. So that definitely would have brought it part of the way there. I still do think that, when we go back to talking about like the environments and the simplicity of the graphics, that was also participating when I talk about like it keeping me at arm's length. But yeah, I think you're right. I think if you would have had a character that you could at least identify what it is and make assumptions about, like, you know, why it's there or what it's feeling, that would have played a big part in just like having a relationship with the game.
I mentioned how this game has like not really bosses, but you do have like larger encounters, shall we say, and I don't want to spoil what they are, but I loved those. I wish I could talk about a particular one, but I really don't want to spoil it for the audience. But let's just say I loved every encounter like that. Can we just leave it that way? It's probably the most exciting thing about the game.
Super agree. And you already did mention the ostrich. I won't like flesh that out anymore. That was easily my favorite part of the entire game. And that like, as far as the game having character, because I think that added a lot, like the animal motif period kind of walks like this good fine line between it being like fun, but also like a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of like mystical, maybe.
Okay.
Right. It's got like, or like, and in some cases dangerous, right? Like the ostrich, I kind of freaked out when I hit that point, but it's also like goofy and really like cool and interesting and just kind of like lights your imagination up a little bit.
It sure does. It's really, really cool. Was that the first such encounter that you found in the game, or was it a different one that you found first?
That was the first. Yeah, that was the first one that was like, you know, where you really had to like interact with.
Okay.
You know, and use it as like an environmental puzzle.
Okay, well, I just want to tell you, I'll bleep it out for the audience because I don't want to spoil.
Fine time.
That was the first one that I found, and it freaked me the fuck out.
Interesting.
I was like, holy shit. You know what I mean? To figure, so it was, The second best part of the game, if not like with those encounters, is like the creatures and like general architecture of Animal Well, like the backgrounds and just like the details that the world does give you. Because we just talked about the contextless part, that contextual parts are crazy good because Animal Well certainly lives up to its title. Because like the first thing you notice is that like animal statues are everywhere. Almost like monuments. Like think of like the alien architecture and like the icons that you might see in like a Metroid or something, like particularly Metroid Prime, where you have like these these things that look like particularly like Mayan civilization ruins, only like in space or whatever. Like that's what Animal Well feels like, but on a totally different scale. I love that you saw like these like I forget where they are, but like these twin mouse statues. They're kind of facing each other. You know what I mean? You could almost imagine that being some sort of like Chozo thing, right? But it's like animals. And I think that's
a great comparison.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Like the deer statues, pit bulls, all that type of shit.
Mm-hmm. And that definitely, it exceeded my expectations a lot in that sense, because just being told that the generalized theme is animals, like I am very much assuming that's not going to do anything for me, right? It's just like overall animals is the aesthetic, and that's they handled that like incredibly smartly.
Yeah. It's so good. They really, again, they live up to their name because all the live animals too, you see from all the small stuff to like little worms and flies, and then like lots of animals will run away from you. You see like I don't know, a squirrel or a rabbit or something, and it'll just kind of run away. It's like, that's kind of weird,
like,
right?
Looking at you in the cave and like slowly backing out as you get closer.
Yeah. And then there's like bigger animals. I think, I don't know how much I want to say about these. I'll just say one, and I won't give any more context to it. There's like a room with a kangaroo. I'll just say that. You remember that one? That was like, holy shit, So there's like kind of freak out moments. People who I was talking to in another Discord who were playing the game along, like we were kind of playing the game at the same time, kind of almost felt like this was like a secret horror game a little bit sometimes, with the way it really like tried to play on like fears and like kind of gotcha moments.
And it is interesting because when you get to those large animals, like the very first time, there's this immediate like is this a danger or is this not a danger? And if it is a danger, like, you usually have no idea how it's going, like how you're going to need to react to it, because just the like design of those characters does not necessarily give a lot of clues about how they're going to, how they're going to move or how they're going to like come at you.
Right.
If
Almost
they do.
Almost like in real life. Like, imagine again, if you were a kid and you were just stuck down here, you wouldn't really have any mind for like what's dangerous or what's not, right? Until you find out the hard way. So that is a real thing. But all that kind of stuff with sometimes like live animals are in the background too. I like that room where there's just like a couple of capybaras just like chilling back there. They're like animated. It's great. That stuff is so good. One thing that I agree with the reviews completely on, though, is that the exploration and the puzzle solving are absolutely top notch, because again, we're talking about these like big encounters. You can have those encounters at any time. The game doesn't funnel you towards, okay, go to this part of the map and then go to that part of the map. You can pretty much go wherever you want and go to those encounters and find out. So different people will get to different ones at different times. And it's very fully realized, again, for like, I don't know anything about the guy who made this, but it's clear that he spent a very long time making this map like work and making all the puzzle solving feel exactly right. I don't know about you, Kevin, but there was nothing frustrating for me. There wasn't like anything where I'm like, fuck, I just can't figure this out, or like this puzzle doesn't make any sense. If there was anything like that for you, tell me about it. But I definitely didn't have a moment like that.
There was one point. It's later in the game. I'll try to explain it without spoiling it. So early in the game, you have a unique item that you need to do something with. And then later in the game, they tell you, it's told that you need a similar item, but it like, and maybe this was just me not connecting the dots. This is the only thing I even felt like I got stuck on, but I wound up looking this up because I was getting very frustrated about it. And you needed, like, because I was very under the impression that you needed to get another one of those items to interact with that pedestal that you need to put it on, where you actually have to go back to the original one in a different part, like a different area, get
I know
that
what
original
you're
one
about.
and take it back there. So I spent probably an hour cycling between like, primarily like 6 rooms, and then going through an exit and like getting back to those 6 rooms over and over, like, where the fuck is this thing, until I looked it up and was told you have to go back and get the original one, which I didn't feel. I mean, I think it was very easy to not pick that up, and that wasn't necessarily intuitive. But I mean, if I also can see how you would see that and be like, okay, I haven't seen that, I'm just going to go get the original one. I didn't realize that you even could pick the original one back up after you put it there.
I didn't realize that either. However, what tipped me off is that when I got to the place where you're supposed to put that original one, it was the same item name as the thing that you put in there. So I'm like, oh, I have to go get that one. So that's how I figured it out. Oh, that's what I have to do.
Yeah, I just assumed there was another one of those items with another one of those names, because in my mind, I had used the last one like as a consumable.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand. Yeah, that I can understand that, but yeah, I definitely didn't get stuck on that, nor did I get stuck on anything else, and I think that's really great about this game, again, to make sure that everything is very communicated to the player that way. And it's very easy for a game like this to be too esoteric, too out there, too like space thinking, like, how was I supposed to figure that out? Like Resident Evil puzzles or something. You have to put on your Resident Evil brain and figure that shit out, which, sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. But I think it does work in Animal well.
It's also not to say that those puzzles are like it's very unique, right? This isn't a bunch of puzzles that are like derivative of things that we've seen before in other games. Like, I really, I felt like the puzzles and the way they like proposed them to you was unique to this game and like very like custom tailored. So it's also, you're not going to just like sleepwalk your way through this. You have to be engaged and thinking about it.
Yeah. And it's great that way. I love when a game can draw you into its world, in the sense, not just literally like the world of the game, but into its type of thinking as well, right? So I guess to end it off, I do have a couple smaller, I don't know if they're smaller gripes, but they're gripes nonetheless. I feel like there should have been some type of minimal action element to the game. And I only say this because there are things that can attack you, like dogs or something like that. And I'm not saying your little blob should have a gun and you should be able to shoot the dogs or whatever. I'm just saying that, like, there are a lot of things that do attack you and you have no recourse. You can get away from them. But at some point, it just feels a little too like, okay, I have to run away from everything. I can't fight back against anything. Okay, fine. You know, and especially since, like, there's a lot of stuff in this game that can, like, kill you in one hit. There's a lot of insta-kills in this game, which isn't really a problem since you just respawn at the last place that you saved at, and it's really not too far away. You don't lose any progress or anything. But if there's a part that you can't figure out and you die like 10 times to it, it's like, well, I'm just trudging over this area again like 10 times in a row. There's nothing here to fight back at me, so I'm just kind of like walking back to the place. Does that make any sense? It's kind of long-winded, but I think it felt a little boring sometimes to like just keep walking over the same area.
I guess as far as your point about having like recourse to the enemies, I do disagree with that, because I think the way I looked at, you know, you use the dog for an example, right? Because the dog, I don't, okay, maybe this is like incredibly light spoilers. I think this is fine to say, right? You get the frisbee, right? And so before you have the frisbee, you need to like tease the dog by going underneath of the area it's in, and like trick it into like going over to like the side you don't need to jump up, and then get it to stay there. And then when you get the frisbee, like that's the way you stop the dog, by like distracting it with the frisbee. And these are very much like structured as puzzles. And I think to have it, you know, if you had like something to like attack the dog with necessarily, would be counterintuitive to it being structured as a puzzle. So I don't feel that way. I think I don't think that there should be any more action in this, because I do not think of this as an action adventure. I don't think that was like the mission statement of the game, to have action built in the way that you're describing it.
Okay, I can totally respect that. I guess maybe I just wanted something else to do than to just walk back there and hop and bop exactly the same way I did, just to try the same thing again and die and then walk over it again. Because at least if there was some action, like if you die in a Castlevania, you still have some zombies to chop up. You still have some axe armors to contend with and kill or something like that. There's like a little bit of something going on. You know what I mean? In this game, there's not really a whole lot going on if you already explored the place. So,
I mean, I think you could always go to, because it is so open-ended. If you're, you know, you can go to other areas. And the thing that's interesting about the items that you collect along the way is like, they can be used in a lot of different ways. So likely if you backtracked, went to another area, got a different item, that item probably has a role to play in what you're trying to do potentially anyways.
It does. Yeah. Because there's definitely stuff, obviously, that you can't reach yet that you can reach once you get certain stuff that's earlier in the earlier quote unquote in the game, right? So yeah, okay, I'll take that. I'm not going to fight too hard on that one. What I will dig in my heels about, though, is the fact that this game has like no music. I'm sorry, adventure games need music. That's just how I feel. You need it. You can't just, and it doesn't even have like the atmospheric, like, you know, a few creepy strings and the stuff I usually say, well, that's not music. I mean, this game is like silent most of the time. Just like atmospheric chirps and like, some crickets and like, okay, occasionally you have some ruins of some sound. And occasionally when you get to like see some larger animals, you will have like a scary song, but that's kind of it. And man,
it sucks. It sucks.
Okay, so you agree. You actually agree with this.
100%. Yeah. And it's interesting because when we talk about music, you're always the one that will like pick out the music as being like really noteworthy for one reason or another. And as far as video games go, I'm much more likely to just like, you know, feel like the music fits the bill. It's not near as often that I like, you know, pick something out as like really notable to me. But not having any music, like it really stuck out to me, and it stuck out early on, and I was cognizant of it the entire playthrough. And I think too, going back to when I was talking about these areas not having like distinctive vibes to them, that played a huge role in that. I felt like not having music was very limiting. It gave this game less character overall, and it gave the sub areas of this game less distinction, and like almost even just like less incentive to like keep going, because there's, you're not feeling gloomy, and you're not feeling like intimidated, and you're not bebopping around. It's just nothing.
Yeah. So I'm glad you agree with that. I thought maybe you'd feel either ambivalent or whatever. So, okay. Yeah. I have a partner. I gave this game a B. I usually give games a score when I post in my, hey, I beat a game on Blue Sky. I gave it a B. If it had music, any music at all, I would have given it a B plus. Easy. It would have raised it a whole thing. So no music, no plus. I think I pretty much tapped. You got anything else before we stop talking about the animal well?
I thought it was interesting. We started this out by saying, this has been out for like 2 weeks and we've had some time to sit on it. And if we would have, I finished this game, I think 5 days ago. And if we would have recorded that day, I think I would have been harder on it. I think as I was playing it, I was a little bit more like, I didn't often, I hate to say this because I feel like it's much too hard on the game, but it did sometimes feel like a chore to play it. If we weren't doing a podcast, there's a chance that I would have just like left this and not finished it. But having those 5 days after and having some time to ruminate on it, I've appreciated it more. And I found myself like randomly thinking about it more than I would have expected playing through it. And in retrospect, I didn't give it enough respect as I was playing through it. And I think specifically a lot of the, I talked about the like grass swishing around and just, like the reflections in the water. So like aesthetically, that did make an impact on me. And the power-ups you use that you pick up throughout the game, I thought were really unique and interesting. And I love when you use the yo-yo. And it can like creep down gaps, and it kind of have its life of its own. It'll get spinning in one way or another, but you got to throw it right. So it'll like sneak down a gap and like hit the button at like the perfect length of the string, stuff like that. Like that's really fucking cool. So yeah, I get why people are super into this game. This is not a game that I would want to go back in 100%, because from what I've heard, there's like another 15 hours that you can milk out of this if you want. And there's like substantial content behind it, but I rolled the credits. I'm happy with my experience, and I think that was a good way to play it.
Me too. I rolled credits, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I don't really need to see anything else. Yeah, this game did occupy my mind the couple days that I was playing it, because I played it the night it came out, and then the next day when I was taking a shower, literally I was in the shower, and the puzzle you were talking about with the frisbee, the solution came to me. I was like, oh wait, what if I try that? Right. And that's how I thought about it. I was like, okay, and usually, bad games don't occupy my mind, so like this is a really good game. I know I had a lot of criticism here, and I don't want to sound like I don't like it, because I really, really did. But I think with a few key things, it could have been like an A game and not a B. I think so.
There's a lot of really enjoyable aha moments like that.
For sure. Okay. Where did Steve go? See, he was here, right? He did the intro with us.
Maybe he needed to shave his head fresh.
Okay, I'll go find him. He's probably shaving his head. Okay, hold on.
Fine time.
Whoa, who was that?
Boy, not a real enthusiastic response to our 40-minute Animal Well discussion.
I have no strong feelings towards Animal Well one way or the other. Mostly because I didn't get to play it yet.
I love the idea that he's got PSTD so hard that he's inserting world into games that don't have it in there.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Balan Wonderworld.
Balan Wonderworld. He's about to have his big therapy session because, well, as promised, since he lost all his money and went to the negative on our Place Your Bets, he had to play Balan Wonderworld to get, what was it, $500 fine time dollars? I don't know what we decided on. Whatever.
Yes.
Hundo.
$500. And so
I will link to the episode if you question me on that.
well, I'm really not going to take, like, I need proof of, like, fake money. I mean, like, Jesus Christ. Like, fine. I don't care. 5,000 fine time dollars. Whatever.
I get. Kevin, wait. I didn't lock in my answer yet. Might need some more confirmation.
Oh, boy.
Do not insert I didn't lock in my answer yet as my middle name.
That is his middle name. Okay, Steve, tell us about Balan Wonderworld. You played the entire thing, and I want to hear all about it, and I'm going to interrupt you a lot with questions. Just
and I'm going to interrupt before you even start, because I need to know for context before you start talking about this. How long did this take you?
The PlayStation 5 app says it took me 8 hours.
Okay.
It felt like so much longer than that, though.
I was afraid you were going to tell me this is like a 25-hour game or something.
It could have been a 2,500-hour game. You know, time is just so fucked up in COVID times, and it's even more fucked up in Balan Wonderworld.
Oh, man.
But hey, yeah, like you all just said, I played and finished the Balan Wonderworld game. And in case you've only seen this game for chump change, or you've only heard us use it as a punchline on the show, let's give you a quick refresher. Former Sonic team talent Yuji Naka bailed from Sega after Sonic 2006 sucked ass, and then he made his own studio, Prope. And then what Prope did is its own show, really, but in the end it was just really Naka there. At the time, he was hired to work at Square Enix, yes, that's Square Enix, to work on this game, Balan Wonderworld, with our zest. We've already done the news story where he got arrested for insider trading, betting on a Dragon Quest mobile game he learned about while making the Balan Wonderworld game. But is it really that bad as we're making it out to be? No, you guys, it is so much worse.
I'm surprised that it's actually I actually expect you to come on here and be like, it sucks, but it's not really that bad. The fact that it really was that bad and more is surprising. I want to ask you a question, though. This is my first interruption. Is there a titular Balan? Is there someone named Balan?
Balan is, in fact, the weirdo guy in the white hat that looks like Knight's cousin that they don't invite to things anymore.
Okay, so his name is Balan. See, I would just call him Balan no matter what, because that's how we roll around here, but his name is actually Balan.
I would have too, but he is, in fact, the Balan of Balan Wonderworld, and that's how the game starts. You don't play as Balan, you get to play as a nameless child that you get to pick between boy or girl with 4 different skin tones. The kid starts off being real sad in the park for reasons, I don't know, if he wants to dance. I don't. There's remarkably little dialogue in this game. It makes Super Princess Peach look like fine art, really.
Oh, but man.
He ends up going to this dilapidated house with magic mirrors where Balan, with all the energy of a single guy with an unmarked white van, whisks him away to his wonder world, to the Isle of Thames that serves as a hub, presumably to show them that it can, in fact, get much worse. Let me introduce you to some other schmucks I kidnapped. Da, 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 da.
So there's just like a bunch of kids here that he just whisked away to this island?
Oh, not just children, just people having a real rough time of it.
Okay, so he goes out in the world and finds people who are sad or something, and then
that's what I could piece together, but
wants to make them suffer more so they appreciate their shitty lives? Is that the idea?
Let's try and figure this out together, because you end up on the Isle of Thames. Tim is like a little fuzzball. I think they were trying to go after Chow's, but all they do is make stock cutesy noises. And you walk through
not even chow noises.
Not even chow noises.
Boy.
And you walk through a doorway marked 1, and you get treated to a sweeping view, I'm being generous, of a level called The Man Who Rages Against the Storm. You get really chipper, if not incredibly banal music playing, and so many dancing furries. Like, a lot of dancing furries. And this game, there's going to be a lot of dancing guys in suits for no reason. They trick you into thinking that they're going to teach you how to play the game. Like, one walks through a mirror and pops out another one. Oh, okay, they're going to give you hints on how to play the game. Guys, that is the first and last time this game tries to help you out in any meaningful way. They don't even serve a purpose from a narrative standpoint. You just have a lot of fursuits just dancing and disappearing when you get close. Like, imagine playing Super Mario 64 and you've got Toads and Pink Bob-ombs just disappearing as soon as you found them.
So, this wasn't a hardware limitation, right? You were playing graphics on PlayStation 5, right?
Just to be clear for everyone at home, I was playing graphics on PlayStation 5. Believe me.
Oh man, this
was an artistic choice to have dancing furries that may or may not have been there just disappear as soon as you get too close.
Well, I am glad you played the quote unquote best version. If you had to deal with like the Switch version or something, I think you should have got $1,000 fine time dollars or whatever.
Does it even really matter at that point?
Yes, go play the demo of the Switch version. It is incredible.
No, I can't do that anymore.
It really does make it. Trust me, it is night and day. Believe it or not, no matter how bad this game is.
So yeah, the levels in the game, I guess, are all extrapolations of, what all these people are having a bad time about. Like, you have the farmer in a famine after a storm, so you have this weird looking farm with oversized hay bales and pitchforks and things.
But is that why the stage is called The Man Who Rages Against the Storm?
Because he's mad about a storm that happened, I guess. There's no dialogue. There's cutscenes that appear at the end, the boss themes where they do a Bollywood dance number at the end of each one. But other ones aren't even that. I get it. A farmer is experiencing a famine. That's bad. But then you run into other ones like there's a girl who's misunderstood for liking bugs, so you end up in the woods. And then you have a lady who likes birds, but she's also in the woods, and there's a chandelier for some reason.
A chandelier in the woods?
I think it's supposed to be the jungle, but it ends up looking like the woods anyway.
Where's the chandelier hanging from?
A tree.
I can't believe I'm going to say sentence. Yeah, where else? I can't believe I'm going to say the sentence because it might be the first and last time I ever say this in my life. That's not how chandeliers work.
Yeah,
what in the world?
So they're not very good at theming. I think the only one they got right was water, and that's for a girl who swims with a dolphin, and based on cutscenes, I guess she accidentally said the dolphin N-word to this dolphin, and it became angrier than an orca at a yacht party. I was talking about this with the Poke Pals the other night, and Ben's like, "Oh yeah, the dolphin!" And Square Enix still has this video up. We're gonna have to post this because they have this video of this cutscene up. Where,
oh my god!
Where there's an angry dolphin getting mad at a girl.
What did she say to the? Well, yeah, the dolphin. Okay, should we do that? Should we try to think of like what a dolphin slur would be? Let's call a dolphin a finner or something. Or what can a dolphin slur be? Bottlenose bitch.
Okay, but enough to get red demon eyes.
Bitch is a slur. That's just like calling somebody that's derogatory. But I don't think that's slur.
Okay, yeah, I think thinner was close. I don't know. We'll think of something. I'm sorry. Go on, Steve.
So I guess to talk a little bit more generally, it didn't really matter what we picked our character to look like because we are also joining the costume character crusade to use different abilities to traverse levels. You get slots for 3 different outfits, and each outfit is incredibly hyper-focused on doing one thing. And I know we're not super favorable towards Banjo-Kazooie or Donkey Kong 64 on this show, but every outfit does whatever the fuck it does. with one button. And I am sure Nako thought he was being the slyest guy around with this. But I really do mean that all of the face buttons, and along with L2 and R2, will do whatever action is assigned to whatever you're wearing.
That is insane. That is crazy.
And I know what you're all thinking at home. Steve, that's fucking impossible. There is no fucking way they made a 3D platformer without a dedicated jump button. Guys, they made a 3D platformer where not everything you wear does not have a jump command.
Like, I get it, right? He was probably going for Sonic on Genesis because A, B, and C, all they do is jump, right? But you cannot do that. You have to have the game designed for that, right? And Sonic can do a lot of different moves, and so can Knuckles or whatever, and Tails can fly. It doesn't seem like you can do anything in this game except jump or use the fursuit or whatever you got.
And when you say you have to have the game design to do that, I feel like it's like intrinsically implied that like 100% includes 2D.
Yeah. I don't see how that works in a 3D space. Well, I guess, Steve, it doesn't.
Well, don't worry about it, you guys, because while some do jump, they just happen to have abilities that activate when it feels like it. The game's words, not mine.
What? It says that?
Like, this is the invisibility suit. It turns you invisible when it feels like it.
Okay, you're saying the literal text in the game says it turns you invisible when it feels like it.
Yes.
Now, is there any like invisible gates in the world that's like triggering that, or does it feel like it's truly random?
I am sure there is something, but when you want it to turn on, it never does. When you feel like you want to slip by enemies in that particular level, like the way they want you to, it does not trigger on.
When it feels like it.
I mean, not only that, I feel like I could tell like my 7-year-old daughter about this, and she'd be like, "That's a bad idea. That is not a good way to design a video game." Like it's truly baffling.
I should also mention that you don't permanently unlock these outfits. They're in little boxes that you have to unlock with keys. So if you get hit with something, which is going to happen a lot because, who made this game? You're going to lose a copy of that outfit, and hopefully you have another one, or you're backtracking to one might be if you needed that outfit to keep going in this level.
So the outfits just spawn on the same spot, and if you lose it, you just have to go back there and get it?
You could hoard them and go back to a checkpoint and load them on, because if you have 3 and you get a 4th, it's going to go in your pile of outfits to pick up to swap through later. But
oh my god.
It's very headache-inducing. So why don't we take a little break and play a game? It's the one time we're going to play this. It's called Balan Costume or Mega Man X Maverick. I'm going to name a whole bunch of Balan Wonderworld costumes, and you're going to tell me if they're real or just Mega Man X Mavericks. Ready?
Okay, hold on. I got music. Hold on.
We got X-Ray Ape, Tornado Wolf, Box Fox, Lickshot Lizard, Pounding Duck, Inky Blaster, Jolt Tiger, and Arrow Acrobat.
Arrow the Acrobat. Okay, I'll tell you this. If there's actually an Arrow Acrobat in the game, that's like the worst reference to anything ever in the history of the world.
Yeah, trick question, guys. These are all Balan Wonderworld outfits, and yes, there was Arrow Acrobat, and he's a little bat, and you know what Arrow Acrobat does? He does the Sonic homing shot thing, but much suckier.
There's no way. Arrow Acrobat. Why would anyone reference that?
I am sure Sunsoft's lawyers looked at that and were like, "Oh my god, guys, do better. This isn't even worth it."
Did you say Box Fox?
Box Fox.
What does Box Fox do?
Well, Box Fox changes into an invincible box when it feels like it.
And what does the box do? It literally just sits there until you can move again?
It's like Kaklang from Dragon Quest. You turn into a box that can't be affected or do anything to anything around you for a few seconds at a time.
There's no way that's a reference to Foxbox, right? Like the block of cartoons, like in the 90s, Foxbox?
There's no way.
I don't know. We have Aero Acrobat. Like, what? I think all bets are off at this point.
Look, I don't know, because we're supposed to use these suits to go through linear levels. There's 2 and a boss for each broken person we meet. Easy enough, right? We put on the suits, we finish the levels, we fight the bosses, we're done. No, we also have to find the gold Balan statues along the way. And these are going to act as our stars or our jiggies or whatever we want to call them to open more levels as we go along. And wouldn't you know it, you can't get them all on the first run with what's available a good chunk of the time. So you need to start taking mental notes of what might be keeping you out of reach and coming back later if you might have something to solve it later. Maybe.
So you're saying you need to get a suit from another level to get whatever you need to get in that level because that level doesn't have that suit?
A good chunk of the time, yes.
Oh my God.
Now, statues are the only thing that let you progress it further along the game. There's other outfit blocks that contain incredibly basic and unsatisfactory sports mini games. Like, you ever play a bowling game where it didn't sound like you were knocking pins over? Because that's what this game does.
There's bowling?
There's like a bowling game and a baseball game, and it just puts you in a little sports outfit, and you play a quick mini game, and then I guess it gives you little Tim jewels to feed to your Tims on the Isle of Tims that I didn't do, and because why would I? And then you get sticks you back in the game.
So what do you do in the baseball game? Does it just show up? You just hit a few balls, and then like, is it like a timing game? Is it like a
hit the ball, do good, then the game resumes.
Oh, are you on like a baseball field or something?
No, you're just like, wherever the hell you are, and Balan pitches to you, and you gotta hit hats.
Is Balan the bad guy? Just tell me. Do you have to kill Balan? Do you get to kill Balan?
Sadly, no.
Oh, come on.
But, I mean, you do collect hats around the world that let you play Balan's Bout, where I guess you sort of play as where you play as Balan through QTE events while Arzest's interpretation of a big band plays. And it's useless because all he does is like, okay, line 1 picture of Balan against the real Balan, and oh, that counts. Oh, push the button some more, and he's gonna laugh a bunch. And then again, if that thing like led to a statue, okay, but none of these things lead to statues, so fuck it. Even
I remember that from the demo, and I was so confused. Because it doesn't give you any indication that it wants you to press the button when the pictures line up. They don't even tell you to do that. So it's just like, I guess I'm supposed to press something?
Yeah, I think they tell you a little better in the main game, but guys, even Yooka-Laylee, as meandering as that got, sometimes made sure everything was some degree separated from you getting pages. Balan just pads shit out for the hell of it. And I have no idea why they needed to do that when the game is so poorly programmed it pads itself out. The further along the game you go, the more insistent on not having a camera view that lets you see the player the game gets is. Not to mention all the other little things, like switching between outfits, like between the 3 outfits takes 2 seconds for each swap. Remember, I am playing on PlayStation 5, so that's not it. And there's more than 70 outfits for you to find over the course of the game, and it is already tedious to have to hoard outfits of overlapping abilities that you have to trudge back to checkpoints to select. That's already annoying, but then to have to flip between them on the fly while you're expected to platform or fight things is the worst. Like, could you imagine playing Banjo-Kazooie and you have to walk up to bottles every time you wanted to fly or punch something?
Oh boy.
That's what this game is.
My head hurts thinking about it.
Yeah, I know, and that's why we're going to go right to the end. We've run through these levels, you beat the bosses, a lot of the times more than once, because like I said, they don't just make it helpful for you to find the statues. You make the hubs open more doors, you ride the train to nowhere, it just rides in a loop and just makes more numbers appear on the island. But now, we're at the end. It's time to fight the end boss, Balan's brother, Lance. I'm assuming that's his name because when I beat him, I got a trophy that says defeated Lance. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's his name.
Oh, boy.
And Lance looks like Arzest beat the internet to Hot Anime Balan OC Do Not Steal. We're led to believe that he's been kind of making these things happen over the course of the game, but really? Because all of these chapters kind of ended with Balan, like, watching people, like, feel better about themselves and then winking at the camera like, yeah, I did this shit the whole time.
Well, he's the one who kidnapped him in the first place. I feel like Balan is the bad guy.
I know, but you know what? This game is so bad that, you know what? Since beating Lance gets me the fuck out of this, you show up with 3 offensively minded outfits. Remember, not all the outfits are going to help you fight things. You wait for timing to smack him 3 times, and then, oh no, it's time for the second form, and he's too powerful, you guys. What do we do? Well, all the people you've been helping out along the way lend a hand. Hooray for the power of friendship.
The power of friendship.
Yes, guys, the 3D action platformer has a scripted boss fight. And now you have to use outfits provided by the people you helped. That's wonderful, except there's at least one dud in each trio that they hand you. And I can't dwell on this anymore. So eventually you do kill him. Everyone hugs and dances a bit more, and they go home. And then Balan also reveals himself to be cute anime boy under the hat. You feel better about shit. You do some dances. The end.
So you actually see Balan unmasked, if you will. He takes off his hat or something?
Yep.
Wow. You get to see the Balan.
I'll send it to you, but you don't want to see it.
So you get.
I need more closure than that, though. Was there not some sort of like Balan doesn't like make clear his intent for like kidnapping these people, or like was there like some sort of method behind the madness of like introducing them to this pain to like better their lives?
No.
Oh. I feel like uncomfortable just hearing about it.
I mean, like I said, I think the one guy with a real problem was the farmer. Everyone else that is kind of petty. There's a former chess champion who's losing, and he gets better by helping another kid learn how to play chess. I'm like, come on, guys. Most of these people don't have real problems.
Okay, I want to ask you one more thing before you wrap up. You showed us a few videos as you were playing of the CG sequences of like song and dance numbers. Why was that happening? Where did they? Can you give us more context for those? Were those like?
I'll do my best, but so you beat the boss. That's like the manifestation of everyone's hurt thing or whatever it is.
Anime.
Yeah, and then they come down all twinkly, as you saw, and then the dance number starts, and you dance with all the furry suits that appeared throughout the level, and then it wraps up, and then it's time to do more Balan Wonder shit.
So that happens after every boss. You get a song and dance number after each one.
Yeah, all 12.
That's a lot of. No wonder this game probably cost a lot, huh? Even I mean, considering how like low rent it is in other spaces, though, that's not cheap to do.
Yeah, I think it all went to dancing furry suits.
Man, just insane. Are you Balaned out? You got anything else for us before we?
Guys, I think this might be the worst modern day game I've ever played. I bought a cheap disc of this because I wasn't gonna let my PlayStation account be associated with Balan Wonderworld. And it's going to go in the bin with other god-awful games I own. The GameStop website says I can get $4 in trade-in for this game, and that's already more than I thought I could get. But no, that would mean someone else could buy this game. I know I'm just a drop in the bucket, but if me hoarding this disc prevents one other person from playing it, I've done a service.
You sure have. I feel like you've done the world a service by actually playing Balan Wonderworld front to back and living to tell the tale.
Yeah, and I think you could get some credit from us too, because honestly, if I ran out of place your bets money and I had Balan foisted upon me, I would have been bitching and bitching and bitching the whole time. I guarantee we would have multiple conversations where I said, I'm not playing Place Your Bets anymore. You two fucking fight it out amongst yourselves. I can't find time to play the games I want to play, let alone trudge through that shit for 8 hours.
Well, full disclosure, I did bitch about it frequently on the chat.
You did do some bitching, but you know, Kevin has a knack for the bitching. I feel like it would be a lot.
You took it like a man.
Yeah, you did it.
Thanks, you guys.
Now your wallet is full of 500 fine time dollars.
I'll take it.
Hard earned.
All right, now don't make any crazy bets just because Kevin's going to give you Mother 3 for this June Direct. Don't.
I already know better than to bet on that.
Yeah, I should. I'm gonna get something juicy that's just gonna make him. He won't be able to say no to.
Yeah, you got me last time. I don't forget when I put like $300 on or something like that, but you got me last time. I was like, I can't resist. Okay, you know what? We played a pretty good game, me and Kevin. You played a bad game. I think we should all rinse it off in the shower. What do you say?
Woot woot.
It's time to hit the showers. We'll be right back on Fine Time.
All right, we're back. Nothing like a hot shower, huh, Steve?
There is no water hot enough to wash away my sins, Andre.
Did you just take like a crying game shower or something?
I will neither confirm nor deny that's what happened.
I don't think kids know what a crying game shower is anymore, do they? It's not a thing.
I'm sprinkling a little baby powder on post shower here, Steve. If you want to come over, I'll give you a little sprinkle. I'll make you feel better.
Rain check on that one.
Okay, now turn around.
Flip them over like when you do it to a baby. Just give them a good
spread them, Steve.
Like to see you try.
Submit. Okay. Kevin's been telling us he has like a surprise thing he wants to do, and he wanted to do it during when we usually do big questions. So tell us what this thing is. I have no idea what you got.
Yeah, well,
here.
and specifically, I wanted to do it this show. It's very timely. Do you guys remember what you were doing on March 2nd, 2023? I'll take that as a no. Nor did I, but I had a reminder a few days ago. So to let you guys in on a little secret, Andre, can you please play the clip that I've pre-prepared?
I know Kevin brought it up earlier, but I'm very curious now, looking at the numbers all on a list, how Tears of the Kingdom's going to do against Breath of the Wild's 6-year-ish head start on against its 29 million.
What, like, do you think it'll like get there? It's tough, right? With like late generation. Well, we don't know what the end of the generation is actually for Switch, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. This could come out the gate gangbusters. I really don't know.
Should we put out guesses right now, and then in a year when this comes up, we can revisit this?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This time. Okay. Well. Okay. Let's just say May 2024. Then, well, how much will it sold in a year's time? Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do that.
I'll say it will sell 17 million.
What about you, Steve?
I'll be bullish-ish and say 21 million.
Okay.
I was going to say 25, and now I feel like I'm being overly ambitious.
No, I mean, I think I'm lowballing, honestly.
Although if we were doing like Price is Right's rules, I should do like $1 more than what Steve said, but I won't do that.
Don't be a jackal.
I'll say 25 million.
Okay.
In the meantime here, I'm going to set a reminder in my phone for May 2024 for us to revisit this. Or I'll just see it show up in my phone. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. It's like Zelda 2024 sales. It's like, what?
And that is exactly what happened. It just said March March 2nd, 2023 Zelda sales figures, and it took me like 5 fucking minutes to figure out what I was even like looking for, and to even go back in the show list. I was like, did we record a show on March 2nd? And sure enough, we did. So here we are. Now, obviously, I have looked up what the sales figures are. I don't know how recently you guys have looked at sales data, or if you have it memorized, but I'm going to give you both the opportunity. Andre said 17. Steve said 21. Do you guys want to readjust those guesses before we reveal?
I feel like I'm wrong already. I'll stick with the 17 because I don't really know what I would raise it to, but if I had to guess, I don't think it's much more than that. I think Steve is probably closer with the 22. By the way, good on you. I didn't even remember that we did this, so I'm glad you set a reminder because this was out of my head.
That was the only reason I remembered for sure.
I would have said I was going to set a reminder and then got distracted and then never set the reminder. So yeah, good for you, Kevin. I'm keeping my guess where it is too, just because I wouldn't know where to put it either.
Steve said 21 million, and as of end of March, so obviously we're going to be a little off, but Tears of the Kingdom was at 20.61 million.
Wow.
So we're probably sitting at like a right nice square 21 million right now. So good on you, Steve.
Nice. Got it.
Huh.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, again, good on you for remembering. And look, we weren't too far off. That would be wild, huh? If we dug back in our old shows sometimes to be like, man, I said that, huh? That would be.
Oh, I do. I'm sure there's been other things too where we were like arguing about something that would happen in a year. And it's just in the ether now.
Yeah, we need a super fan, a curator, to be like, hey, you guys said this on February 2022 or something like this.
Sounds like you just assigned yourself to write the Find Time wiki, mister.
Oh my god, if we ever had anyone dedicated enough to write a Find Time wiki, that would be incredible. All right, well, I'm glad one of us was very close to correct and we weren't like embarrassed like it sold like 6 million copies or some shit, which would have been, impossible.
Okay, so Andre, you might remember last time Square Enix wasn't having a good time. Mm-hmm. And they really weren't having a good time because really licking their wounds a bit after our last show, they got a bit more specific about their future plans. Namely, for HD titles, Square Enix will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo platforms, plural, PlayStation, Xbox, and PCs. Guys, ignoring how imminent the Super Switch probably is, and to do the nerd thing of, yeah, most of the Square Enix library is already multi-platform. I gotta also ask, is this really it for the timed console exclusives from them? Will all 3 Xbox players looking for mainline Final Fantasy finally be happy?
No. I do not think so. In a word, no. I do not think multi-platform is the issue here. Because let's do the math, okay? Let's just think about this way. Let's say Final Fantasy 16 sold 3 million copies on PS5, okay? Let's say that's the number. Now, let's say that it came out on PS5 and Xbox. Do you really think, either of you think, that number, 3 million sales, would go that much higher? Because I'm not sure that it would. I think they're thinking like, well, we sold 3 million on PS5. If it's on Xbox, we can double that. If it's on PC, we can have much more. If it's on Nintendo Switch, we will. I don't think it works that way. I just think X amount of people are interested in a game, and that's it. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have sold more. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know. You guys following what I'm saying here? Like, okay, yeah, maybe like people who had like a Xbox Series X, maybe they bought a PS5 to play Final Fantasy 16. I'm sure other people did too. But I think a lot of people are also just like, oh, well, I'm not really interested in that anyway. So.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, well, I guess if we're using that 3 million figure, I would assume, if we're talking about Xbox and PC, it would have been definitely a bit more than that.
PC's a different ball game. I think PC you could double your sales, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess too, when we're talking about their AAA games, like, you know, Final Fantasy 16, I'm sure was somewhat of a system seller in some cases, but I don't think there was that many people running out buying consoles because Final Fantasy 16 was coming out, and I don't think there's a lot of other Square Enix games that people are running out and buying consoles for either.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was like a huge system seller, right? Like people went out and bought PS5s to play like Hogwarts Legacy because, you know, like they obviously, you know, if they're going out there and it's not on PS4 or Xbox One or whatever, or at least it wasn't when it came out, right? Then it's like, and it's not on Switch. Okay, we got to get this new system, and people were buying PS5s for that, not Xboxes. I think that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. And yeah, maybe Final Fantasy 16 doesn't have that panache, but I think honestly what this comes down to, Steve, is like these games are just kind of selling what they normally sell, and Square Enix spent way, way too much money making them.
I think you nailed it, because Final Fantasy 16, you might remember, last year started with that slower burn that they weren't too happy with at first. It did increase over time, but 16 was not an in-house project. They had to phone in Platinum for all those icon battles. And I'm not going to pretend I know how much Sony chucked at them for exclusivity, but Platinum doesn't work for free. And I'm imagining Square's just feeling the burn of how much video games fucking cost to make.
Yeah, and like we talk a lot, maybe not necessarily on this show, but in general, like in the gaming space, we talk about like how games take so long to make nowadays, and we have these very, very long dev cycles. The reason why Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or remake series rather is coming out as fast as they are, quote unquote fast, is because they are just making them for now like PlayStation and now just PS5. If they had to make them for other systems, tack on like at least 2 years. So that's kind of it too. We keep saying like, oh, we want shorter dev cycles. You can't do that if you're making everything for everything. So you can't have it both ways, I think.
I want to bring this in the direction of Nintendo a little bit here too, because I find that interesting, right? They're they specifically named Nintendo platforms. So what does that imply for a Switch successor? I think from the rumors we've heard, it's all but certain this is another handheld device. But how viable do we think that AAA games are going to be on that platform? Like if Final Fantasy 16 was coming out at the same time as the Switch successor, obviously it's going to be a big jump up from the Switch, but I don't know if I'm confident it's really going to be a viable option for these graphical powerhouse games that they're, specifying.
I've said this before on the show, I think the Switch 2 will basically be an Xbox Series S handheld. I think it's going to cost like $400. And I think it's going to be pretty powerful. I could be wrong about this, but I think enough time has gone by. It's been 4 years since those systems came out, a little longer. I think you can maybe try to squeeze something pretty equivalent to that into a handheld. I think it's going to be more powerful than a Steam Deck. Am I wrong? Is that crazy, Steve?
I don't think it's too crazy, no. I think Square's got to look at Nintendo a little bit, because they've been enjoying some pretty good sales on that system, and I think Nintendo realizes they've got to up their game a bit too, because the other day they announced acquiring Shiver Entertainment. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but they're the ones that sort of made Mortal 1 Combat and Hogwarts Legacy sort of work on Switch. So I think they're really trying to get all the people that know how to make more with less around to really make this show. I think they're all trying to. I think they're all talking to each other right now. They all got to make this work.
Yeah, I think Nintendo's actually, people think Nintendo just lives in the sky and they just make what they make and whatever. They listen to developers. I feel like the Wii's RAM got doubled because Capcom told them to. Very famously, the Xbox 360's RAM got doubled because whoever makes Gears of War told them to.
I think a lot of that was Oblivion as well. Oblivion needed double the RAM.
It was gonna, I mean, just Jesus Christ, can you imagine a system with 128 instead of 256? I mean, the PS3's 512 feels like like light years, comparatively. And I do think Switch 2, it has to be that powerful. I don't think you can enter the market the way they like just duct taping two current Switches together like they did for Wii or something like that. This is one instance where Nintendo has to play the game a little bit. And if they don't,
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I would love to see that. I think, especially from a consumer perspective, I would love to see Nintendo put out a $400 device. I think they're scared of that number. And that's just not been traditionally the path that they've walked. But I think they're in, like, if they've ever been in a position where they could do that and have people like jump on it, now is the time. So I also wonder too, right, when we keep talking about these like ever inflating development costs, there's got to be like some thought of like, to some degree, like lowering the bar, or just like not the bar as, and maybe this is counterintuitive to the Switch point, but maybe lowering the bar, not as far as like graphical fidelity or like what it can do, but maybe even just like purely like the amount of content. You know what I mean? Just like reducing these costs, and maybe that kind of plays into like, the Switch successor being, obviously it's going to be less powerful than like PS5 Series X.
Yeah. As of this recording, Hellblade 2 came out yesterday, and that's like a 5-hour super cinematic game. It's basically like a tech demo game where it has like a bunch of story and you kind of fight sometimes, which is fine. Like, there is room for those type of games, but like you were saying about lowering like the content. Yeah, not everything has to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. At the same time, like maybe we shouldn't spend like years and years making Hellblade 2 either. That feels like too far the other way. At the same time, yeah, I think I agree. And I said this during our Rebirth spoiler episode at the end. I was like, I would be okay if they went back to like a more linear style like remake. I'm not sure they would do that because, you have to have the high wind. You're probably going to fly around and do this and that. Like, you don't want to take that away from the player. At the same time, we had our big adventure, right? Not every game needs to be like that. And as much as I loved Rebirth, I don't need that again necessarily, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's just kind of a tangent. I think I do agree with that in general. We can get to a place where we just don't have to stuff everything into one game. One more big question we got. So in a chat with Comic Book, the website Comic Book, Marvel Studios head of TV, streaming, and animation, Brad Winderbaum, says that they're bringing back the Marvel television banner. This was previously used for like shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC or like the Netflix like Daredevil show and shit like that. But now that the shows are going to return to Disney Plus, they're going to use that Marvel television banner to convey to viewers that they can in fact, quote, jump in anywhere, end quote, without watching every movie and show, which is a complaint that he recognizes a lot of people have made recently. And Winderbaum says, and I quote, "We want to make sure that Marvel stays an open door for people to come in and explore. On the heels of Endgame, I think there was maybe a little bit of obligation to watch absolutely everything in order to understand it." And he continues, "Part of the rebranding of Marvel Studios, Marvel Television, Marvel Animation, even Marvel Spotlight is to, I think, try to sell the audience. You can jump in anywhere. They're interconnected, but they're not. You don't have to watch A to enjoy B. You can just follow your bliss." End quote. Let's start here. He says they're interconnected, but they're not. You can't say that, dog. Like, it can't be both at the same time. You can say it's not important that they, how it is sometimes. It's like, oh, I need to play, the original Metroid and Metroid 2 to play Super Metroid. No, you don't. You'll get some stuff out of it if you do, but no, you don't. So maybe that's what he's trying to say. Like, they're interconnected, but they're not. I
think that's what he's trying to say.
Okay, I hope so.
That better be what he's trying to say.
That's how I took it.
Okay, because that struck me as like, all right. Also, like, I think he's full of shit because, again, this is the past now, but I just watched, like, Doctor Strange 2, and I didn't see the Marvels, but, like, you're fucked if you didn't watch WandaVision. And guess what? I didn't watch WandaVision. I had no idea what the entire villain's arc was about in Doctor Strange 2. Multiverse of Madness, I think it's called. I had no clue. Like, and that's when I knew. I said this last year when we were talking about the Marvels, is like, that's when I knew, oh no, they really did it. I really do have to fucking watch everything on Disney Plus now I can't just go to the movies anymore. I can't. So if he's really trying to like dial that down, then fine. But the thing is, I think he's wrong because you really didn't have to watch everything to watch Infinity War and Endgame. You absolutely did not have to. You can just watch those movies and that's it. I know there's a lot of characters and there's a lot going on, but you can just watch those. And it seems like the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine, which I am very much looking forward to, is a direct response to all this anyway. So maybe they are really getting back on track, but please don't tell me those other shows don't matter when they really do. That that is really obnoxious.
I'm very much on the outside looking in. I've said over and over, I'm not a Marvel guy. I'm not really a superhero guy, but I have to wonder if the interconnection is really the primary problem here, anyways. And we'll go on to talk about, like, you know, him talking about it like diluting focus and attention. Now, I don't think that's even, to me, I just feel like it's been cheapened because of the like massive volume of content. I can't specifically articulate it more than that, except it's just kind of like when everything is special, nothing is special. And I think that's how a lot of people feel about it. I don't think it's like, you know, it's too interconnected. I don't think that there's too much to choose from. They've just like really like cheapened like the Marvel movies, TV shows as a whole is how I feel. Again, from the outside looking in, is there an element of that?
Yeah, you are correct. Because like Star Wars had a mythology because there was 3 movies. You know what I mean? And then there were 6 movies. Okay, cool, right? And then there was 9 movies. Fine. But then when you get to Disney Plus and you start shitting out like I can't even keep up with those. I think I read a lot of those, Steve, when last year we were talking about the Marvels, right? I feel like I read off a lot of them. Like, we're on season 4 of Mandalorian. I didn't even recognize half the shows on there.
No one can. It's impossible. You just can't.
So do you agree with Kevin? Do we have like is it like like things don't feel special, or is it really just a content deluge?
Man, I think it's just both. I mean, how much can you really... We talked about this last year. How much time can you really expect the public to be invested in anything you're doing? Last summer, I think, when you were watching, you saw the movie, and like, you can't have everyone do homework. It's not, why should we? Why should we have to? You're not giving anyone a reason. There's too much of it, and it's not worth watching.
I think they're also assuming that, like, again, maybe this is just me. They're assuming that I'm going to remember everything that I saw in Doctor Strange or Shang-Chi or whatever, right? Wakanda Forever. I'm not. They're movies. I watch them and then I move on. I'm not saying I forget about everything.
That's why you take notes.
Yeah, if I have to, like, remember that one little scene and
it's an open book test, Andre.
Well, they actually did do that. Of all the millions of fucking things that happened in Endgame, there was one scene where Loki snatches this crystal or something, and then he pieces out. He like goes through a portal. He's gone for the rest of the movie. That little piece of shit scene is like the entire basis for the Loki TV show, apparently on Disney Plus, which I've never watched. But that one little thing that happens is like it's like I'm supposed to remember that I remember that happened now that you mention it. But like, we're talking about Avengers Endgame here with like 40 fucking characters and whatever. Like, what do you want me to do? You know, like, that's the type of shit where I'm like, okay, what do you want from me as a viewer?
Every time we talk about Marvel stuff, I'm always like so glad that I don't give a shit about it. There's so many reasons to not.
Like, look, I don't want it to sound like I'm a Marvel super fan. That I'm not. I just like to go watch those movies, and that's it. I watch them. I think they're fun for the most part. There's very few bad ones for me, and I move on. That's why I go to them so often, because for me they were almost always a guaranteed good time. The last couple of years.
But do you feel now like you have trepidation about that because of these reasons? About like feeling like you're going to go like sit in the theater and spend the money and get the popcorn and feel like you don't know what's going on, or like, you know, you've just watched fucking 4 Marvel movies in the last few months and it's
you didn't
too
buy
much?
any of the Cliff Notes, so of course he feels that way.
Yes. Who buys Cliff Notes? Do kids buy Cliff Notes? No, it's fucking Chat GPT, right?
Yeah, I guess.
No, I don't feel that way, but that's why I'm so excited for Deadpool and Wolverine, because it's not going to be, I could just go there and watch them say fuck and cut up people, and then that's it. You know, like that's kind of why I'm excited for it. I don't have to fucking know anything. And that's exactly what I want. All right. You guys want to play a game before we get out of here? It's a game we haven't played in a really long time.
I know what game it is. I want to play.
You want to say it for the people?
JAV Titles, real or fake?
Did your ass just say JAV?
Go home, Kevin.
Did you just vocalize JAV?
Are you serious?
I thought I know it's JAV, but I'm sure we've said it as JAV before. Is that not a?
I never pronounced them as a word.
You know what? I think
get your audio recording ass and find that somewhere.
No, we can say that.
Japanese adult video titles, real or fake? Much less enthusiasm.
In case you haven't heard this, we haven't done this in a really long time. We used to take quotes from the JAV.text account on Twitter, but that is no longer on Twitter because Elon sucks and the API stuff. But they're back on Blue Sky. And so I took a bunch from Blue Sky, and these are real Japanese adult video titles, unless I made them up. So I'm going to read one, and then the guys will guess whether they are real or fake. I'm glad to be back in the saddle, the sexy saddle for this.
Easy there.
All right. Here's the first one. These boys and girls are just friends, but they're about to take on the slut experience. Real or fake?
I think that's fake. I think you're getting out of the gate fake.
Okay. The slut experience. So you think the slut experience is fake, Steve?
I think it's real.
Oh, you think it's real? Well, you're right. It is real. Maybe you should watch that one, Kevin. You can take on the slut experience as well.
Get a t-shirt on the other side.
All right, next one. Co-ed wrestling camp. The winner triumphs over the cocks. Real or fake?
This sounds real, so I'm going with it. Real.
Okay.
I also think fake on this one.
Okay, fake. It is fake. I made that up.
Before we move on, I have to ask: do we think cocks makes it into Japanese vernacular? Because I don't know that
they have an equivalent for cock. Yeah, it like
would it be translated as cocks though?
Yes, it is always translated.
Okay.
Or sometimes dick if you want to be. But yeah, they have a word like that. It equivalents. Okay. It's yeah. I know enough Japanese to know that much at least.
That was day one of Japanese lessons.
All right, next one. She has 3 holes, but only 1 will to live. Real or fake?
That is the most shocking one to date.
Yeah, that's why I think it's real.
Okay.
I think it's real too. That is sassy.
My friend Ben, who loves this segment, made it up for me. It is fake.
Good for him.
Good job, Ben.
That is art.
All right, let's try this one. A girl who just came back from having sex with 10,000 men in LA has decided that she likes anal better. Real or fake?
10,000.
She just decided.
Damn.
Fake.
That's gotta be real.
It is real, Kevin. 100% real.
I mean, once you hit 10,000, like, you got to open up your options.
Yeah, but LA, those aren't even real cocks. No.
They don't have real Look, she just really wanted to make sure, okay? So she had to get to 10,000. She really needed to know.
9,500 was like, probably, but another 500 and I'll know.
Okay, let's try this one out. Everything in this bakery has this couple's sex juice. Real or fake?
Real.
Real. Okay.
I'm gonna say fake. I feel like it. Yeah, I'm gonna say fake. That sounds like it would like violate health code violations in Japan.
I don't think any of these movies are worried about that.
No.
But okay, you're right. It's fake. It is. Okay. That is a fake one. All right. Let's try this one. My dad's lover is my big tits private tutor. He's committing adultery and cream pie sex behind my mom's back and smiling like a jackass while showing off his rock hard cock. Wow. Real or fake?
Boy, if you made that up, good on you. I think that's real.
Yeah,
that's
I'm saying real too.
That's 100% real. It's a real one.
Can you say it one more time? There was so much content, I couldn't even digest it.
Okay. My dad's lover is my big tits private tutor. He's committing adultery and cream pie sex behind my mom's back and smiling like a jackass while showing off his rock hard cock.
I want that on DVD. I love that.
Can you fit that on the spine? I mean, like,
yeah, I don't know. It's got to have two lines of text for sure.
Okay, let's try this one. Don't let me go alone. Everyone is invited to the piss party. Real or fake? Kevin keeps looking at me during these like he's very disappointed. Like, if you made that up, you are a sicko.
No. I got mad respect if you made those up.
No, this one's fake.
This one's fake?
That one's real. I think that one's also real.
Well, thank you for believing in me, Kevin, but it is fake. I made that one up. I made up the piss party, okay? Jeez, you got me.
I had a feeling you might have created the piss party.
Piss party creations.
And you didn't invite me to it. That's fine. I'm not a fan anyway, but...
Okay, how about this one? Shit just got real. 5 hours of the best of filthy, dirty shit. Real or fake?
If this one's fake, you have to go on a list, so I'm going to say real.
Okay.
No, I mean the like blurring requirements, I think they don't allow that one to be real. I think that's fake.
That one is real. 100%.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a real one.
Man, you got to buy that one on the black market in Tokyo.
They sold that one at the Sero Z game store.
Yeah.
That one is not a Japanese 7-Eleven. I know that.
All right. That was fun. I feel, we took a shower during this, but now I feel filthy again. So maybe I should go take another one so we can get out of here.
We're getting back to our roots.
Yeah, we're getting back to our roots. We had to do JAV titles.
Yeah.
It's been a while. So
JAV titles.
And I was quietly keeping score. Kevin won. And just as a reminder, Kevin loves his wife and children very much.
Not so much that
I in fact am not going to buy that one on DVD.
On that note, we can get out of here because where are we going to go from that? Check the description of this podcast to find our names on social media. Check us out on Twitter at Fine Time Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
We'll see you next time on Fine Time.